Box this.
Convenience didn't seem to be a consideration when Idaho's Grand Ole Party chose Chalice for its summer meeting. What else won't be considered much of a convenience? Too much difference of opinion within the party. We're getting a recap from a longtime Republican who's worried about the direction of the GOP. Nothing makes people more worried or angry or tired than talking about budgets. Boise plans to do more while working with less money. Ever heard of the Sluice Box? Well, you could slide into this slice of Idaho City for less than the average price in Ada County. Looking for a new adventure, the owner is looking to unload this icon of old Idaho artifacts.
Just because we were in the middle of beautiful Idaho, but a very difficult part to get to, maybe some were hoping that people wouldn't pay attention to what happened.
A lot of people did. Tom Luna, former chair of the Idaho Republican Party, speaking to us after he just returned from Chalice, little city in the Lost River Range, most known for the earthquake that hit the area in 1983, but could now be known for potential aftershocks from what happened during this past weekend's Idaho GOP summer meeting. Hundreds of elected delegates descending on Living Waters Ranch, where they began the two-day event considering 23 proposed rule changes and 26 proposed resolutions. So lots of meetings, lots of work being done during the day, capped by, some Saturday evening guitar get-together around the campfire. Isn't that nice? Yes. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. But unlike last summer's GOP convention, where hard-right former lawmaker Dorothy Moon was elected party leader with 434 votes, this meeting would be attended by about a third of those participants, which some, like Tom Luna, consider a problem. A little more than 200 people deciding on the direction of the party, which boasts just shy of 600,000 registered voters. In some media accounts, the meeting was referred to as a unifying one for the party. But for others, like Tom Luna, a member of Idaho's GOP since 1980, when it wasn't even the majority party, says it may have been unifying, but based on a few of the rules passed, not in a good way.
For example, the decision was made to disenfranchise Republican women and remove their vote from the executive committee, remove the vote on the executive committee of young Republicans, remove the vote of college Republicans off the executive committee. And, that has alarmed a lot of people and should, right? At a time when our party is trying to reach out to the younger generation and encourage more involvement from younger Republicans. At the same time, we know that the workers of our party are the Republican women.
A decision to discharge, determined by just 216 people. 137, nearly 2-to-1, voted to make those three groups non-voting members of the executive committee.
You have to look at the reasons for it. If you want to see where a majority of the Republicans are politically, look at our last primary, where Brad Little won overwhelmingly, Scott Bedke won overwhelmingly, Debbie Critchfield won. These aren't the candidates that were supported by the people that are now controlling the party. And they realize that the only way that they can win a Republican primary is they need to control who's on the ballot, right? And so part of the process in order to accomplish that is to change the rules that we operate under. Before Saturday, the people who want to change the way the Republican Party operates did not have a majority of the votes to do that on the executive committee. So what did they do? They removed 3 votes. Now they have the majority.
The way the Republican Party operates is probably best portrayed by the rule passed about party enforcement. As Luna sees it, Article 20 is also a counterattack against the will of Republican voters, because the pledge to the platform is paramount.
Now we have another group that can go back and question whether you made the right decision as a voter, and they can actually pull that person in front of a committee and put them through an inquisition, and if they don't meet whatever standard has been set, then they can no longer run as a Republican in a primary.
The presidential caucus, instead of a primary, they want to have a small select group choose who Idaho is going to vote to be delegates for the GOP convention.
Yeah, so you kind of got to the point. A caucus then gives you the ability to once again control the decisions of hundreds of thousands of Republicans, and it's made by a smaller group. What our party should be doing is using every bit of influence and political clout we have to get the legislature to bring back a primary. We have 550, 600,000 registered Republicans. We need to give every one of them access to voting.
Limiting access, Luna says, is the primary purpose of today's GOP leadership, something he fears will have a chilling effect on its future.
There's two ways that you can unite a party. One is follow Ronald Reagan's counsel, and that is somebody who agrees with me 80% of the time is not my enemy, they're my friend. The other way you unite is you start purging the party of anybody that does not agree with you 100%. Eventually you end up with a smaller group, but they agree 100%, and so they're united.
Let me just read this to you then. This is from Representative Heather Scott. She tweeted this out after this weekend. The fruits of great leadership continue to bless Idaho Republicans. GOP Chairwoman Dorothy Moon has not let her foot off the gas since taking over the helm of the Idaho GOP. Her continued efforts to purge the party of Democrats in disguise, non-supporting and non-believing party platform members, is a wonderful breath of fresh air for all of us who strongly believe in government by the people, for the people, of the people. For those who find her efforts shocking, there are plenty of vacancies in the other party of socialist woke liberals. Please go. The exit sign is flashing for all closet rhinos.
Yeah, I think they're being very bold now as to what their intentions and plans are. They didn't make those statements when a year ago, but now it's obvious what they're doing, and she used the word purge. If you don't agree with them 100%, then you're not a fellow Republican anymore. You're now somehow this socialist Democrat, which nothing could be further from the truth. She makes it clear that at the end of the day, we will have a smaller Republican Party. And I just don't think that's good for Idaho, and I don't think most Republicans think that is good for Idaho.
That's a different tune from 2 years ago.
You know, they're all on the same page, but they're not on the same paragraph yet.
When Luna, a year away from being ousted as party chair, insisted there was no divide within the Idaho GOP.
We're a big tent, and that tends to invite a lot of opinions and a lot of passionate conversations.
Do you still feel that this is a big tent and that it's allowing a lot of differing opinions?
No. It's still a big tent. I mean, there's almost 600,000 registered Republicans in Idaho, but the policies and the direction the party is going is to intentionally make it smaller, and there is no a tolerance for people to have different opinions or different thoughts.
That presidential caucus thing will only happen if the legislature doesn't fix what they broke last session when they removed March elections and pushed Idaho's presidential primary to May to coincide with statewide primaries. The 11 rules weren't the only policies passed this past weekend. There were also 28 resolutions, 2 more than they began the weekend. Ideas they like, but they're not really enforceable. Everything from limiting legislative special sessions to 20 days to requiring a high school student to take 2 semesters dedicated to our founding documents, to condemning and wanting to reform the FBI, to banning the jab because, quote, COVID-19 vaccinations are biological and technological weapons. They're not. There was also one offering a vote of no confidence for Governor Brad Little for vetoing House Bill 314, which was the library bill, and the 14 state representatives for voting against the veto override. Now, we did try to speak with Chair Moon about her reaction to this weekend's meeting to ask her about the quote-unquote purge, but we've yet to hear back. So you may be wondering, if current party leadership, like Dorothy Moon, and the way they want to run things does not really line up with the majority of the party, which is what Luna says, how do the likes of Moon and Idaho Freedom Foundation board member Brent Regan get to be in that role? Well, Luna says it has to do with the more than 900 voting precincts around the state and what's usually an unnoticed part of a primary ballot.
If you get to the bottom of the ballot, and a lot of people don't get down to the bottom of the ballot, especially if there's judges and things like that that are running unopposed. But if you get to the bottom of the ballot, you will see where you elect a precinct committee person. If you're not paying attention, many of those races are ran, they're unopposed. Then those people get together and then they elect who the delegates will be to go to the state party to elect a party chair, and then to eventually write rules and write platforms. If you want to get involved down at that precinct level, those 916 races, then you can take control of a party without representing a majority of the views of the party. So when you have a county, for example, that Brad Little won in the primary by 65%, and none of the people that end up going to the state convention were Brad Little supporters, then you know what is going on behind the scenes.
Well, Luna made it clear the GOP is still the party for him. He just believes there are two very different ideas on how to preserve that party, and the state also, as it has been for the last 3 decades. And before that, Idaho was pretty purple under Democratic leadership for 25 years. Luna says it will take more involvement from what he considers the majority of the party in the day-to-day decisions to keep Idaho from looking a little more bruised. In the market for a new house? Well, it's not really new, but could be new to you. How about this great 2-bed, 1-bath in Idaho City that comes with its very own gift shop? Yep, the Sluice Box is up for sale once again, and it can be yours. How about you make some of your comments ours? Send us your text messages, 208-321-5614. Don't forget your name and the hashtag the 208. We want to hear what you think about what we've talked about today or what we could talk about tomorrow. Keep them clean, clever, and concise, and we could share yours at the end of the show. Budget meetings. City of Boise will have about $6 million less to play with in its general fund for the next fiscal year. Well, at least than it had last year. While population and property taxes have increased, we've come to the end of some COVID cash, so less money. Mayor McLean dropping her proposed $300 million budget 10 days ago, and today begins the process of workshopping it. Public safety, transportation, housing, a nod to climate change. Joe Paris, I understand there's even some tax relief in there for Boise residents.
Oh, yeah. And Brian, let me say this up front, that the proposed budget and report from City Council that they saw today, that we'll talk about in a minute, it's available for everybody online. So you can research this more on your own time. Let the city know what you think about how they spend your tax dollars. But the mayor set the tone to kick off the budget meeting this morning. She says that the budget reflects the values, goals, and vision that her administration has, setting up the whole conversation.
I'm really excited about the advancements that we are able to make thanks to the team in especially housing, safety, parks, open space, and doing that while giving back through the circuit breaker rebate program.
So as Brian got to earlier, overall, the city of Boise's general fund budget is about $300 million, a little bit less than last year. And that is generated by tax dollars, yes, including property taxes. So what's the major hit there? Well, Mayor McLean proposes a base growth rate of 2%, and that is lower than the allowable increase of 3%. The mayor says that keeping the growth rate below the allowable increase has saved Boise taxpayers $7.5 million since 2020. The end result this time: most Boise homeowners can expect some savings on property taxes.
You can see that the 2% increase recommended within this budget is expected to result in a decrease of approximately $138 for the average priced home, saving approximately $14 as compared to if the city were to take the full increase.
Some also news today, Boise will continue the city's tax rebate program that provides property tax relief to elderly, disabled, and widowed homeowners. It's like the state of Idaho's circuit breaker program, but it is on the city level. Boise is the only city that does it around the state for now. Now, their proposal is to put another $1.2 million into that tax rebate program. City says that nearly 90% of eligible taxpayers, they use that program in 23, so that's why they're bringing it back. Very popular. Of note, Idaho lawmakers passed major property tax relief this past session. In the overall impacts and savings of all of that in Boise and across Idaho, they're still in calculation. So what are we spending money on in the city of Boise? Well, a lot of it is salaries, which is normal. And the city of Boise is proposing 27 new full-time positions for the year out of the general fund, including 12 for public safety, which breaks down to 9 for Boise Police and 3 for Boise Fire. And about half of the general fund is dedicated to public safety overall. Parks, recs, libraries, solid chunk, and some other categories like public works, they fill out that graph that you're looking at there. And a portion of new cost is for the new positions that the city is proposing across the departments. Now, there are some increased fees proposed in the budget, things like business licenses, permits, parking, building permits, parks and rec fees, stuff like that, camp facility reservations. But, you know, when you talk about these increasing fees, the city of Boise tells us that really the increasing fees, it's kind of one of those things that they have to do. They have to keep up with the way things cost. They have to make sure that things are making ends meet. So, Brian, when you talk about the fees, maybe the price of going to Zoo Boise, not specifically, but when things like that go up, that's just because the city is, you know, as a business, they have to make sure that ends are meeting. So you might notice some fees going up here and there, but most importantly, if you want to weigh in on all of this, it's going to be at July 11th. There's going to be a public hearing at 6 p.m. at City Council. Written submissions are also accepted before that time. We have a link right now to our website, ktvb.com.
Okay, so you can contribute, but how often does this change? I mean, is this set in stone? I know it's not, but how much wiggle room do we have?
There's definitely wiggle room. If the people of Boise come out and are violently against something, City Council is going to go back to the drawing board.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Well, on the weather front today, temperature-wise, it's been a pretty comfortable late June day. 79 is where we're at in Boise. That's as warm as we've been in the City of Trees so far. McCall sitting at 60. Sun Valley has reached 70 with some peaks of blue sky coming through the clouds. But in McCall and Stanley and the mountains looking to the north from Boise and off to the east as well, things are a little bit stormy. In fact, it's been very wet to the west of Boise. You can see nearly a quarter inch of rain has fallen in McCall. Ontario has seen half an inch of rain, courtesy of a line of strong thunderstorms that rolled through earlier this afternoon. You can just see it's been an active weather day for much of our area, not so much in Boise or the rest of the Treasure Valley, but in eastern Oregon. A lot of activity rolled straight through from west to east earlier today. Still plenty of lightning strikes there between Homedale and Murphy. So that active weather will continue. Those storms popping up off and on today. Gusty winds, small hail, and brief heavy rain, the biggest threats there. The area of low pressure causing all of this unsettled weather will lift off to the north and east tomorrow. Still, though, as it goes, we have a chance of some isolated thunderstorms in the region, mostly in the mountains, but Magic Valley, Treasure Valley, a slim chance of some storms popping up. It'll be a breezy day tomorrow. Temperatures do climb just a touch across the region for Wednesday. And then as we look at the 7-day forecast for the Boise area after the active weather is over, the heat is on. Look at those temperatures, mid-90s on Friday, pushing 100 degrees in the City of Trees for the coming weekend.
If you've paid attention to the housing market recently, you understand that affordable housing is obviously relative. Latest MLS report says the median cost of a home in Ada County is more than $500,000, which is actually down about 10% from last year. But no matter what source you search, you're going to see Idaho's real estate value has increased a lot in the last few years. Not uncommon for property to double in value. So you might have to go to some lengths to find a home that, fits your needs. And if you found anything during COVID, convenience of working from home might be a thing. Have you looked in Idaho City? There's a unique home there that comes with a business all in one. Here's Andrew Bartline.
Right on the corner of one of Idaho's most unique premises is protruding even more points.
I was driving past it constantly going, one day I want to get in there.
And in here,
always, people are always digging through it.
Jamie Brown's the owner.
They find some really cool books.
But that's not all.
Knickknacks, glass. We have a lot of glass.
Some are rare.
The cobalt blue, that's a big one.
In a secondhand store that's one of a kind.
It's a magical place. Things show up out of nowhere and you're like, how? I've been in this store for 2 years, how?
Jessica Tam notices new additions each time she walks the halls. That's the constant through the collection of the uncommon.
It's a staple. It's a gathering place for a lot of people.
It's a gathering place,
The Sluice Box.
named for the people.
Gold mining thing. At the end of the equipment where all the gold gets shaken down to, that's the Sluice Box. That's where you find all the treasure, all the gold. Makes sense because we're at the end of Main Street. And this is where you find all the treasures.
Which can sometimes be debatable.
Yes, the old shag carpet.
But there's a price for everything.
We're in the Wild West, man.
Everything.
I'm ready for the next adventure because I think I've taken it basically as far as I can take it.
Jamie's just the third owner since the 1970s, and she ran it for 2 years. It's zoned for home and business, meaning some of the family lives on the top floor and works at the business on the bottom floor.
We worked the deal.
Which is now 2 businesses.
This, putting the coffee shop in, lightening it up, brightening it up, giving it new life.
New life for a household of household items.
We just have to tell everybody the dust is free.
All looking for a new life.
I hope whoever gets it next gives it the same love and care and just adds maybe a new element to it.
All behind a call out on the corner for a new owner.
And I don't know where all this stuff came from. I wish I knew the story behind a lot of these things because I pick things up and I'm like, where did this come from? And I don't do I want to know? I don't know.
That current owner, Jamie, says the building feels like a quilt to her. She knows the names of the couples who owned it before her. She says each owner has added on something new to the building or contributed in some way. And she says she wants that to continue, Brian.
Yeah.
For $350,000, that could be you. That's the asking price.
Again, you've got a home and a business for one sweet price.
I would like if I could roll out of bed and go straight to work.
And
but
roll down the
have to
stairs.
put on clothes and come here and talk to you. It's a whole thing.
I've always wondered why they call it the Sluice Box, and now I know.
I know. I was very satisfied with the answer, actually.
It's a great answer.
Gold mining thing. Pretty cool.
Thanks. Cool story, Andrew. A lot of comments today on Tom Luna's recap of the GOP meeting in Chalice over the weekend. Let's get right to them. Like this one from Joe in Boise. Idaho Republican Party is starting to sound like 1930s and 40s Germany, a.k.a. the Nazis. Words like purge, get rid of people that don't think like us. Sad times for our great state. A lot of comments like that. So Heather Scott loves the purge of their party because she wants government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Cognitive dissonance much, says Jack in Boise. I moved to Idaho partially because it was a red state. It has turned black with nuts running it. I'll be changing who I vote for, says Pat. Now, there are some people who were in favor of that one, like this one from Pete in Boise. The uniparty is dangerous for Idaho. I'm not quite sure what that means. I guess the party for everyone is what you're trying to say. On a bigger scale, it's on full display in D.C. I applaud Chair Moon, says Pete in Boise. This one here. Dear Tom, your party has left you. Please work with the majority of Idaho, regardless of party affiliation. Best regards, says Daisy Rain Martin. And surprise, surprise, Republican leaders suppressing any dissension while claiming they are pro-democracy. Situation normal. We'll see you tomorrow.